In today's video tutorial, we are going to be creating a Christmas card using code. As you can see on your screen here, we've got a Christmas tree with a star on top and a Merry Christmas message written underneath. So it's fairly simple. We will be coding in Python today, and we will be using the turtle module to get the graphics up on the screen. So let's get started now by heading over to Python and creating ourselves a new file. Once you've got a blank page up on your screen there, we can start writing in the code. Oops. The first line of code that we need to write in is simply import turtle, which imports the turtle module, which is just some pre-written code that will help us out. Basically, with our coding today, it's going to be a lot less writing for us. Once we've imported the turtle module, we're going to write some code to draw a rectangle first. And because, if we go back to the example here, because most of our picture is made up of rectangles, we want to reuse this code over and over again. Okay, so we'll just write it once, and then we'll just call up that code every time we need to write it after that first time. Okay, so I'm going to define a function. So I'll write in the word def to define a function called draw rectangle. You could name this function anything that you want, but I'm going to call it draw rectangle because it's something meaningful. And then in brackets, I'm going to write in what you see there in yellow in the tooltip. So turtle, comma color, spelled the American way, comma x, comma y, comma width, and comma height. There we go. So they are the basically the values we need to create a rectangle on our screen. So I'm going to put a colon at the end of that line and press enter. And you'll see that your mouse cursor comes down to the next line and it's actually indented a small way. And that's good because all the code that comes in now underneath this function is what's going to draw that rectangle on our page. Okay, so the first thing we need to do to get this rectangle started is we're going to write in the word turtle.pen up, and we're going to open and close a bracket. Now this pen up function basically means that our pen has been lifted up off the page, and as our turtle moves around now, it's not going to actually draw anything onto the page, not until we put the pen back down. Alright, so I'm going to copy the word turtle dot because we're going to be using that quite a bit. So I'm just going to copy that. And on the next line, I'm going to paste it in just by pressing Ctrl V. And the next line is going to be turtle dot color. Just remember we're spelling color the American way. And in brackets, we're going to write the word color again. When we add some more code in a bit later on, we're actually going to pick a color for our rectangle. Okay, and that value or that color will be passed into here. And we'll be able to color our rectangle in whatever we've written there. Okay, so this is our border color. On the next line, we're just going to do turtle.fill color, and do the same thing in brackets where we write color again. So it'll have the same color for its border and its fill color. On the next line after that, we're going to move our turtle to some coordinates where we want to actually start drawing our Christmas tree. So we'll write turtle.goto, and then in brackets put x, comma, y, and close our brackets. So we will actually choose some coordinates, so x and y values, to put in there, and that will move our turtle to that position. Once we're in position, we can put the turtle back down on the page, ready for drawing. So we just write turtle.pen down, bracket, bracket, and we'll also put turtle.begin fill, or begin underscore fill, bracket, bracket. So we can now start coloring in as our pen or as our turtle moves around the page. Now draw a rectangle. We're just going to draw a short side and a long side, and then repeat that code a second time to finish that rectangle off. So we're going to do it in a small loop. I'm going to make a for loop, so for I in range 2, put a colon. Remember, I is just a random variable. You can put any word there that you wanted to, but common practice is to use the letter I. So we write for I in range 2, which basically means we're going to repeat the code below here twice, or 2 times. So the code that we need to draw a rectangle is simply turtle.forward. So we're going to move our turtle forward, and we want to move it to the value of width. So we're going to actually type in a value, could be say 100 pixels. So it would move forward 100 pixels. Okay, whatever we put that value width as, that's what it will move forward to. After that, we're going to turn our turtle left by 90 degrees. So turtle.left, 90 degrees. And that'll have us facing basically upwards, say. And then we're going to go turtle.forward again. And this time we're going to move it forward the height value. So we're going to actually type in a value for the height. It might be, say, 50 pixels. So we'll go forward 50 pixels. And it will stop. And we'll turn it left again 90 degrees so it's ready to finish off the rectangle. So that's the code to draw two sides of the rectangle. What we're going to do is come back around. This is the loop that it's in, and we're going to repeat that loop a second time. Okay, so we'll just run that code again, and that will finish off our rectangle. Alright, we're going to press enter a couple of times and then backspace once so that our mouse cursor comes out of that for loop and is back level with these turtles we were writing earlier. I'm simply going to write turtle.end_fill, so that'll stop colouring in our shape. And I'm going to do turtle.setHeading to 0. Now what set heading means is simply what direction is the turtle heading in, or what direction is the turtle facing. Okay, so we want it facing 0 degrees, ready for our next shape. Okay, pretty easy. That's our first function done up to help us draw a rectangle. The second function that we are going to do is a star. So I'm going to define a function called draw_star. And in brackets, we're going to write in turtle.color.x, no, not dot, sorry, comma, and then comma size. Okay, so it's a little bit different to the one up here. Okay, pretty similar. Put a colon at the end and press enter. And remember, your mouse cursor has been indented to show you that the code beneath here is all going to be part of this function, which helps us draw a star. Okay, so to draw a star, we've got some similar code as what we had up here with the rectangle. So I'm going to copy the pen up code, the color code, the fill color, the go to X and Y, the pen down, and the begin fill. Okay, I'm going to copy all of that and paste it in. Okay, I'll just save you writing it again. Now when we get to this stage, we've moved our pen to the coordinates we want, we've picked our color, our pen's back down on the paper, and we are ready to start colouring our star in. So now we need to tell the computer how to draw that star. Now our star is going to have 5 sides, so we're going to create another loop, another for loop. So it's for I, in range, and then in brackets we're going to do 5. Put a colon at the end, don't forget that colon. You'll see that your mouse cursor indents underneath this loop here, okay, just to show that the code underneath here is what's going to be repeated 5 times. Okay, so we're going to write in turtle dot, I'm going to copy that again, so turtle dot forward, whoops, turtle dot forward, and we're going to give it a size to move forward. Then it's going to be turtle dot right, so we're going to actually turn to our right by 144 degrees, 144 degree angle. Then we're going to move forward again, so it'll be turtle dot forward, and then in brackets we'll write the size again, and that's it. Okay, that little 3 lines of code there will help us draw a star. We simply need to repeat it 5 times for that star to be drawn. Okay, so once we've repeated that code 5 times, we're going to press enter a couple of times and press backspace so that our mouse cursor lines up with these turtles here. So we've jumped outside of the for loop now. We're going to write turtle.end_fill, open and close the brackets, and then turtle.setHeading 0 degrees. Alright, that is it. We've now got the code ready for drawing a rectangle and drawing a star. So I'm going to go to File and Save As. Now I'd highly recommend making a new folder here called Christmas Tree. Okay, and inside of that new folder, we're going to call this Shapes. And click Save. Alright, so that has our 2 functions to help us draw rectangles and stars. Now I'm going to make another new file here. Another new blank file, and this is the code that's going to actually put our Christmas tree together. Alright, so I might put a hashtag at the top and actually write Christmas tree. That's just a comment to explain what's going on in our code, and I might use a few of these throughout this section of code. So in our Christmas tree code, we need to import a few things first of all. First thing we're going to do is going to write from turtle import star. So that means it's going to import everything from the turtle module. Now from shapes, that is this document here. From our shapes document, we want to import all the code. Okay, so we just put that star again. And the last one is from random. So from the random module, we're going to import a section of code called randint, which is a piece of code that's going to help us pick a random integer. Okay, and you'll see where that comes into play a little bit later on, so don't stress if that doesn't make too much sense right now. Okay, now first thing I'm going to do is we're going to set the speed of our turtle to 0. That means the speed at which we draw our Christmas card is as quick as it can go. So that's pretty quick. You'll see how quick it is in just a moment when we run our code. After that, we need to create a window to draw in. So we're going to call this variable window. We're going to make a variable up called window. And we're going to set that equal to turtle.screen. Now screen's got a capital S there, so be careful as you write it. And then on the next line, we're just going to give this window that we're drawing in a background color. So it'll be window.bg color, which stands for background color. You can choose any color. I'm going to use a hexadecimal code that I looked up a little bit earlier. So in quotation marks, I'll just write hashtag 69D9FF. Close my quotation marks and bracket. And I've now got a background color for my window. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set the start position for where we want to start building our tree, and we're also going to set the width of our tree. So I'm going to put in a comment by putting in a hashtag again, and I'm going to write set the start position of the tree and the width of the tree. Okay, and on the next line I'm just going to make a y value up, so y equals -100, and I'm going to set the width 240. Okay, I think they're in pixels, so the width of our tree is about 240 pixels to start with. Okay, if I just go back to the example for a sec here, it's this bottom layer of the tree here. That's about 240 pixels. Alrighty, so now we can get started on actually drawing our tree. So I'm going to put in another comment. So I'll put in the hashtag and just write tree. It just means the code below here is going to be what draws the tree up. Actually, I might do the tree trunk first, just to make life a bit easier for us. We might start with that brown tree trunk just here. Okay, now to draw that tree trunk, it is a rectangle. So I'm going to call up that code that we wrote before, this code just here. Rather than writing all of that over again, I'm just going to simply draw a rectangle and pass in the values needed to draw that rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to write in draw underscore rectangle, and then in brackets I'll write the word turtle. I'll put in the color I want in quotation marks, so I'm going to choose brown. If you want, you could use a hexadecimal code for your color if you know what they are, but if you don't, just use a keyword like brown and that'll work. Put a comma. Now we want to draw this, we want to put the coordinates in where we want to draw it, so I'll put -15 for the x value. And for the y value, I'm going to do y -40. Remember we set y over here to -100, so we're going to take another 40 off that. So it's going to come right down towards the bottom of our page to draw it. Now the width, we're going to set to 30 pixels and the height to 40 pixels. So that's what all those values mean. Okay, and if I just save this code now, we'll see if it's going to work. I'm not sure if it will or not, but we'll save this as main. This is the main section of code. Once you've saved it, let's go up to run and run it. We'll run the module and see what happens. There we go. So we've got our little tree trunk drawn. That little arrow down there is just the turtle. Okay, it's just that's what draws the shape for you. It will disappear later on. We can hide that later on if need be. Okay, so that is the tree trunk done. Next thing we might do is draw the green leaves on the tree. So it's the actual, I suppose, tree section. So let's put in a comment called tree. Now if you go back to the example one, actually I got rid of it, but basically the example is made up of multiple rectangles. So we're going to draw our rectangle over and over again until it gets rather small, maybe about 20 pixels in size. So to do that, I'm going to do a while loop. So this time, while the width of our tree is greater than 20 pixels, we're going to repeat some code. So put a colon at the end, Press enter, you'll see your mouse cursor indent, so you know that you're working inside the loop here. So this is the code that's going to get looped over and over again. We're going to write width equals, or width, take away randint. So this is this random integer I'm going to talk about in a sec. And it's going to be a number between 20 and 30. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to take the width of the tree, which is 240 pixels, and we're going to take a random number away from it, somewhere between 20 and 30 each time we run this code. So it'll just make our tree get smaller and smaller as it works its way towards the top of the tree. Alright, that's what that little bit of code is doing. Now the height of our rectangle, it's going to change as well each time. It's going to be height equals randint. So we're going to pick a random integer somewhere between 15 and 35 pixels. Okay, so each time we run this code, we'll have slightly different sized trees. Now the x, we're going to make a variable called x, and we're going to set it to 0 minus the width divided by 2. Okay, and then we're going to run that code, draw a rectangle again. So we're going to draw a rectangle, and in brackets we're going to write turtle. We're going to choose the color green. We're going to set the x value to whatever that calculation ends up being, so I'll put x there. The y value will just be y, because we already set y up here. And then we need to also write in width and then height. Okay, we've set those values elsewhere as well, so that's all we need to write for that one. And the last thing we're going to do is y equals y plus height. Alright, so that will make our tree continually grow taller. So that is the code that we're going to repeat over and over again until our width becomes less than 20 pixels in size. So we know that our tree is going to get smaller and smaller as it works its way up. Okay, when it gets to the 20 pixels in size, it will stop growing, and that's the end of our tree basically. Okay, so that will draw a tree for us. Let's just save it. I'm going to press Ctrl S to save it, and we'll run it. Let's have a look. There we go, so that's got our tree looking pretty good. If we were to run that code again, it would be a slightly different shape due to these random integers here. Okay, but I'll do that again later. Just want to get this finished now. We're almost there. The last thing I want to do is second last thing is to put a star on top. That's going to be an easy one, so I'll put in a comment that says star, and we're going to simply call up the code draw star. Now that comes from over here where we wrote the code for drawing a star a bit earlier. Okay, so we write draw star, pass in the values we need, so we write turtle, choose a color which is going to be yellow, our x coordinates, our y coordinate, and the size. Okay, that's all we need to draw a star. We save that and run it. Let's have a look at how our tree's looking now. Beautiful. A little bit off center there, but near enough's good enough for me. Last thing I'm going to do is put a little Merry Christmas message down the bottom of our Christmas card. So I'm going to write in a message. Oops. So first thing I'm going to do is write pen up, so our pen comes up off the paper, because we're going to be moving it, and we don't want the pen to actually stay down on the paper drawing. So pen up. The color we're going to choose is red. Make sure it's in quotation marks. We'll tell the turtle where to go to, so we're going to go to, say, -100, -180. That's the x value and then the y value. Then to write, we simply write the word write, and then in brackets, in quotation marks, Merry Christmas. Now after that we can actually play around with the font, so I'm going to write font equals, you can choose whatever font you want. I'm just going to stick with the basic Arial. Size 20, oops. And you can choose if you want it bold or italics or normal, whatever you want there. Okay, so that will write the message Merry Christmas on the page in Arial font, size 20, and make it bold. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide that little arrow, like I said before, which is the hide turtle module. So hide turtle, function. There we go, and that just hides our little turtle, so we don't see that little arrow that actually drew the pictures on the page. Alright, Control S to save, run module up top. Let's have a look at our Christmas card. We should be done. Simple as that. Okay, if I was to run that code again, you'll see the Christmas tree will slightly change its shape. Okay, that's just because it's choosing random integers each time. But that is how you draw yourself a Christmas card using Python code.